All right, we are live, folks. How's it going, John? What? How's your day going, man? How's it going? I'm gonna say how's it going one more time because that's real good broadcasting. We say
Yeah,
the same thing over
say
and
the
over
same
again.
thing over and over
Yeah,
again.
people
It's
love
what
that.
Fox News does. They fucking
Yeah.
eat it up. No, I'm doing good. I got my Chinese just voted sticker.
Oh,
I
that's
voted in
funny.
the. I thought I was, and it was the only one available. Like we were
That's
just like, are there
funny.
any English ones? Like, no, we only got the Chinese ones. And I'm like,
Chinese one's a lot better.
I live in like a 90% white area of Philadelphia. Like there's not Chinese people here. I don't know why.
Why they
It
had
was like that.
Yeah.
I can only assume there's a precinct in like Chinatown that doesn't have Chinese stickers because of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's some poor like some mega Democrat Chinese American that's like a Biden Harris t-shirt just dying for a Chinese I voted sticker and he doesn't get to have one because John Cooper, some dude named John Cooper. That's the sticker. That's really great. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. So like I get why you'd want that, but like I mean, I don't know the demographics of the city or the area that the voting block covers or whatever, but that's such a Democrat thing to do. It's like, yeah, we know that there are no Chinese speakers within, 150-mile radius, but we're going to have this here just in case,
Like if I lived like near Chinatown, I would totally understand. It's weird living my outskirts of Philadelphia, 90% white neighborhood.
Where John and I are like 2 beers away from being mad pressing press 1 for English folks. we're getting dangerously close to that area. It seems like, I don't know, Democrats, they are liberals in general. They'll do this sometimes where I've heard people talk about it recently. So whenever they start talking about the abortion bans, and they'll be saying stuff like, well, that this is an attack on women. Well, an attack on people who can get pregnant. It's like, look, you can just say women. You can just say it. All right. It's fine. It's fine. Like, we understand that it's not like in language you speak in general. And listen, it's not to be harmful, obviously. Like when 99.9% of the people who this affects are women, it's okay to just say women. It is. And like, we understand that we understand that we know that trans men can get pregnant too. They're also included in this conversation. We're not trying to exclude them or anything. And there's nothing wrong with saying people who get pregnant, obviously. But when you trip over yourself, it just makes you. And you know what? Do you remember this clip from when Hillary Clinton was running for president and someone was giving the Pledge of Allegiance, or no, she was giving a speech for Hillary Clinton, and she said, and this country was founded as one nation, indivisible, under liberty, and just like, okay, just say under God at that point. Like it's worse. It's a lot worse whenever you're stumbling over yourself like that. Maybe it's just like the diction that bothers me the most. But if you just say it with confidence, then I probably wouldn't have a problem with it now that I think about it. But yeah, it's just like
TJ, honestly, there's very few things I'll get offended on someone's behalf over. The phrase birthing person, like birthing person or like birther or whatever, like that feels offensive to me, and I'm not a woman. I buy that conservative argument. It definitely feels offensive to call a woman a birther. And even like if you look at it from the trans person perspective, saying woman isn't even incorrect. Like if you look at it from they're not denying their biological sex is female. Like the trans men aren't going around, or I'm sorry, trans men aren't going around and being like, no, I don't have a uterus in here. No, that's not what they're, unless I got it removed, But like still, like it's still anatomically, biologically the correct way to refer to them. It's not exclusionary.
Yeah, and so like with the phrase birthing person, I've never heard anyone in casual conversations say birthing person. Like I've never seen that.
That's
weird. That's weird
in college.
That's true. Yeah, that's so like when for Republicans would get all pissed off because it was written like in legal documents referring to specific medical. At that point, yes, being specific is very important because a birthing person isn't necessarily a woman, and you don't have to include like trans people in the conversation. Like a girl is a birthing person, but she's not a woman. And so like I get it if if the point is to be overly or like very specifically technical and everything, but in casual conversation, no one is that technical on anything basically. So yeah, I don't know. It's then again, my mind might change in this 6 months. Who knows? Like I don't know. It's like I
don't feel strongly about this take. Like, I'm not gonna live or die on this hill, but Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say it's just weird. It doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, it's so yesterday on the live show, John and I discussed a interesting bill that was passed in Oklahoma. Well, the bill wasn't passed. The bill passed the Oklahoma State Senate. And if you can believe it or not, the state of several states, apparently, I saw the list earlier. There's a lot of states. It's still legal to spank kids in public schools, which surprising to me. I thought for sure that was something that was long gone. But the Oklahoma State Senate, I'll go ahead and share this right here. They had this, or the House had this wild idea that maybe we should make this illegal. Maybe we should, graduate and evolve beyond this. And you'll never guess the GOP stood in the way of it. So I laugh at this part here because John, you pointed out yesterday was the Oklahoma senators quote the Bible. That part I can't help but look at it now because you brought it up last time. But the Oklahoma State Senate passed a bill that would ban schools from using corporal punishment on children with disabilities. Get that? It's not even banning corporal punishment in all public schools. It's only for certain kids, and that's with kids with disabilities. It passed a vote of 31 to 11.
Only the disabled children.
Only the disabled kids. Yeah, I know, right? It's like the rest of you guys, you can take it, no problem. It defines corporal punishment as hitting, slapping, paddling, or any other means of inflicting physical pain. The disabilities range from autism to deafness to orthopedic impairment and speech or language impairment. And actually, I want to point out something that we didn't talk about yesterday, that it's not just spanking. They specified hitting, slapping, paddling. Like it involves all of those. So is it legal to slap kids in Oklahoma now? Like, is that
legal? It's legal to literally paddle them, to like you're a Greek organization in the 80s, and you're just paddling disabled children. And these Republicans, they got to stand up for family values,
Oh,
you got to protect these kids from the people who aren't hitting them. So like that. and yeah, TJ, what were you saying was even their argument for this?
Oh, all right, here we go. So it's funny you mentioned that. So it's the Bible, as it turns out, and more. So there's a video that I will share with you guys right here so this passed the state Senate, but the House of Representatives, they have a lot of people holding this up. They think that this is a bad idea. And let's see if I can pull this up right here. And I forget this guy. Oh, I should have wrote this guy's name now. A real, professional would have actually done that. But he gives his opinion on why we should actually keep this.
We're taking a tool that has been in the hands of parents and in the hands of schools to maintain discipline. And we're removing it from the parent's prerogative and saying, we, Big Brother, the state of Oklahoma, knows what's best for your child, and we're removing an entire motivational tool from discipline in the classroom. And this is an erosive and a corrosive element in the United States whenever Dr. Benjamin Spock published a book that said, don't discipline your children, don't spank your children. And a lot of people don't know that. His voice was elevated because it fit a particular agenda. Dr. Benjamin Spock was a socialist.
Dun, dun, dun.
Who ran for the People's Party. That means he's a communist. Okay? And disrupting discipline and defying scripture is precisely what the Communist Party and socialists do by increment. Proverbs 22:15. Foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline drives it from him. So at the end of the day, it's a very simple question. Do you believe the parents have the right, in partnership with the schools, to determine what disciplinary protocols should be put in place? Or are we going to create an entire class of individuals sending a strong message from here? We know better than the parents, and if you have hearing impairment or you're visually impaired, suddenly you're in a class of people that cannot be disciplined. Are we sending a message that we don't love our children? Whoever spares the rod hates their child.
Well, that's a bulletproof argument if I've ever heard one, John. What do you think?
I think the American Academy of Pediatrics cautions that corporal punishment is of limited effectiveness and has potentially deleterious side effects.
Good word.
I do you know what that means?
Deleterious, like detrimental. Yeah.
There we go. There we go. Maybe I was hit too much as a kid. I didn't learn that part.
Yeah.
And recommends that parents be encouraged and assisted in the development of methods other than spanking for managed undesired behavior. Now, here's the thing, and this isn't mine. I've read this before, but it's probably the most pithy way of phrasing this argument. If a kid is old enough to understand when you explain the morality of a situation to them, then why are you spanking them? And if they aren't old enough to understand the morality of the situation, then why the fuck are you spanking them? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, either they can understand it and you can use your big boy adult words to explain it to them, or they can't understand it and you're just hitting them for funsies. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make intuitive sense. It only makes intuitive sense if you were hit as a kid. Like that's the only, I feel like the default assumption here should be you don't hit children. And that is, again, just an argument for parents hitting children, let alone public school teachers paddling disabled kids. Like that maybe can't even understand morality or can't physically like, it just doesn't make any sense. The only types of people this makes sense to are fucking, like, scorched earth fucking evangelist. Like, I don't even understand how this is even an argument anymore. And I can't believe, TJ, I could not believe yesterday. I went to bed last night, I forgot about this, and I looked at this today and it was like, oh shit, that's right, it's legal to beat disabled children in Oklahoma. I can't believe it.
It's like, we talk about this all the time, that the Republican Party is not a serious organization with ideas who should be taken with any, reasonable consideration. It's really like, and it's like you said, when they reference the Bible with this, they say, well, listen, the Bible says that if you spare the rod. I like when people fuck up Bible verses. I like when they do that. I really love it, because it kind of like, all right, you don't really know.
Spare the rod not even a Bible verse?
It is.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah. It's he who spares. He got the verse right. He who spares the rod hateth the child. The malapropism is, you spare the rod, spoil the child. That's like the American phrase, but the actual phrase, like, you hate the child. But whenever they fuck up Bible verses, it lets me to put. By the way, that guy was an excellent speaker with all the pauses and recollecting. It's not like he was.
Well, it was a very complex thought he was trying to convey.
Right? It was very quite area. This might be a touch cerebral for all of you, but the Book of Proverbs says, like, what are we doing here? But like you said, they're pretending that they're appealing to biblical morality, and that's why I have to do this. But they're not even doing that, because that's not what the Bible says. The Bible doesn't say a teacher who doesn't spank children is a bad teacher. No, it's talking about parents. That's the only argument you could possibly make, and that's not the argument the Bible is making. So they're not even, like, we call them Christian nationalists, and they are in a sense, but really they're just kind of nihilists. They really are. There's like you mentioned that, hey, I was spanked when I was a kid. Everyone I knew was spanked, so it must be good. These people who are trying to take that away from me, and Mr. Thompson down at the eighth grade classroom, they must hate children. And I don't know, it's bizarre. It's weird to see, but it's funny to laugh at them. I'll put it that way.
Well, TJ, we're going to be talking about a subject about kids and what to do with them when they do something you don't like later on today, when we talk about the Columbia University protests. But I don't think it's nihilism. I think it's an appeal to authoritarianism. Mm-hmm. And it, like, the philosophical concept behind this isn't like, I think they're just using the Bible as an excuse that clearly isn't really what they believe. They just want to be able to hit kids because they want to enforce a hierarchy. They want to say, I am bigger and stronger, and I'm going to hit you, and you're going to do what I say. It's laziness. It's utter fucking laziness to not be able to outsmart a child. And instead, instead of teaching them, you have to hit them. And they call it a motivational tool, despite the fact that we have mountains of evidence that it doesn't actually work that way. And so I think there is a pretty clear line to be drawn between the people, and they're often the same people, however, not always, who are saying, hey, we should be able to beat disabled children in Oklahoma, and hey, we should send the National Guard to deal with these kids who are protesting in Columbia. It's the same mindset. They're doing it for the same reason. They want to be able to enforce hierarchy with force. And it is a classic hallmark of conservatism that liberals often also fall victim to, are guilty of.
Yeah, you're correct in the appeal to, because whenever you talk to like this extends to people who will say that the Bible is the source of their morality, and you start asking them some basic questions about morality and what it falls down to, and it turns out it's not about morality at all. Like, it's not. Like, it's exactly what you said. It's about obedience to authority, because that's the only way that humans can exist, is if we have rules. And to an extent, that's true. But when the rules are just like, well, they're in this book, so I guess we have to follow it, you end up doing some insane stuff. And what often happens,
like paddling disabled children.
Yeah. It's like if I have a teacher and the teacher wants to spank kids, and this is funny how he framed it, in that they're trying to take away freedom. They're trying to take away the right to, like, no, you're the one doing that. Like, you're the one saying, whether you like it or not, we get to beat the shit out of your kids whenever we damn well feel like it. I feel like those parents are losing a lot of freedom there. But yeah, it's not necessarily about, like, this is like when it comes down to conservatives, and that they're not interested really in solving problems, because when you tell them that the solution that they've offered, not only does it not work, but we have 100 years of data showing that it actually hurts, so let's try something else. It's like you spit in their face. Like, they think you're a crazy person. Like, they automatically reject it, because complex thought is not quite their thing.
Well, that's the thing there. And what you just said reminded me of that classic argument that theists often make, which is, without a God, how can there be morality? And or like, if your sense of morality doesn't come from God, it can't come from anywhere. And it's like, no, it can. You can reason out your own morality. You're just too lazy to do so. Like if you actually have to sit there and think about moral questions of what your actions actually do and whether or not that is good or bad, then you would have to change your behaviors. But if you can just point to book and go, book says okay, and interpret that however the fuck you want in order to just justify your actions that you want to take anyway, that's where these conflicts come from. And it is a major conflict. And again, this isn't even a liberal conservative thing, because I see liberals do this all the fucking time too, of just pointing to some sense of authority, pointing to the parliamentarian and saying, no, we can't do that, except you can. And it's wrong not to, if you were to actually think about this for any amount of time. But they don't want to, because it's laziness. They don't want to raise their children. They just want to hit them so they don't annoy them anymore. So they don't annoy the parent anymore or the teacher anymore. They don't want to actually explain to students what is right and wrong and how to critically think about what the right course of action is. They just want them to do as they're told. It's never about the thing they say it's about. It's not about, the whole fucking trans panic. It's not about protecting kids, because you're also fighting to hit them. You can't have both. But you can if what you actually care about is simply enforcing a hierarchy by force. And that is really what it boils down to every single time.
It does. The what you're talking about is such a good, absolutely true. Where that people pretend that they like to ask you, is your morality subjective or is it objective? That's the question that they love to ask all the time. And it's like, well, see, your morality is subjective. Like, you thought something was okay or something was wrong in the past, and now you've corrected yourself. So how can you base your moral thoughts on this if your mind is always changing? And the thing is like, your morality is subjective too. Everyone's is. It can't be anything other.
The question is, your morality subjective implies that it is subjective.
Yeah. It's
if it wasn't.
Yeah, because in their minds are thinking, since they say my morality is based on the Bible, as if there's one set of morality based on the Bible, as if there aren't 100 different ways that people interpret the morality of the Bible or any other holy book for that matter.
Have been fought over that shit.
Yes, yeah, people have. It's really funny, man. It is funny. Fuck it. It is funny. It's funny to me, all the bloodshed that's happened over the most minuscule, biblical or spiritual. I remember.
Does the wafer turn to physical flesh in your mouth, or does it not? People have died over this question.
I was right about to say that, man. That's exactly where I was going. I grew up a Baptist, and so I didn't know this until I was like in 8th or 9th grade that the Catholic dogma teaches is called transubstantiation, which is exactly what John said, that Jesus died 2,000 years ago. And then we hold the Lord's Supper, which is like a wafer of unleavened bread and either wine or grape juice. And then you proceed to eat the man, whenever you have this, like literally it turns into human flesh and human blood once you ingest it. And I remember I saw I think it was Calvin and Zwingli. I can't remember. Like cities went to war over this shit. Like people die. I was like, you have got to be. I mean, I just stared at the history books. You cannot be serious. They fought a war over this. First off, that's ridiculous. Second, obviously one side's right. It certainly doesn't do that. But I wouldn't shoot you. I sure as hell wouldn't shoot anyone over this. I couldn't believe it. That's some wild stuff. So yeah, people, once you choose your objective set of morality, you do that subjectively. You could have chosen something else, but I don't know. It's a difficult conversation to have because it's such a simple concept that they just won't acknowledge reality on it.
Yeah, for sure. And to tie this all the way back and to put a bow on this, I did want to highlight that, yes, we are making fun of the crazies right now. Not all Republicans. I would go out on a limb and say most Republicans don't agree that teachers should be able to hit disabled children. I as much as I hate to give Republicans credit, I would have to wager that is not the standard position within the GOP.
What do you think the split would be? What do you think the split would be?
What is the over-under?
I got to tell you, 60-40 sounds generous. Huh?
Parents being able to hit kids, a majority of Republicans, I think, would agree with that.
Oh, absolutely.
But teachers being able to hit kids, and specifically disabled children, I can't imagine it's more than like 15%.
So if we take out the disabled part, like if we take out the just should teachers or administrators be allowed to spank? Are you looking it up? Are you gonna see if there's a poll on this?
I don't even know if there. I'm just looking it up for like parents hitting kids.
Yeah, because man, I would it's not like 80-20 Republicans that would be against teachers spanking kids. I don't think it'd be that high. Like I'd say between 60 and 70. It's like they like violence. They really do.
Okay, wait. Corporal punishment. This is from PubMed. No, this isn't a survey. We'll find this information. We'll put it in the description. Who knows? This is too hard to look up in the moment. But yeah, no, to finish what I was saying there. The thing is, we are poking fun at the fringe of the Republican Party here, but the problem is that the actual base of the Republican Party never pushes back against this shit.
No, they don't.
Like you never see you never see the normal Mitch McConnells going and being like, you guys are bad for doing this, you should stop. No, they tacitly support it through not fighting against it. And if you are, I think this is most prevalent. In this case, it's a little less prevalent because this isn't that big of an issue. But I think it's most prevalent in the case of abortion, where you have these state governments who are outlawing abortions in all circumstances, whether it's rape or incest, and then you have national conservatives, like national GOP members, going, "Oh, of course we don't want to force people who are raped to have kids and be pregnant." And it's like, yeah, but like you're not stopping anyone who is. You're not saying it's wrong. You're not pushing against this as a movement within your party. And so I'm going to just have to take what is happening at face value and go, you support this thing that you aren't standing against.
Yeah. It's 100% true. Man, the Arizona abortion thing has just been, it's been like a, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's just been like this incredible thing to watch, because exactly what you said, it keeps happening, that Republicans have been, they've had to switch their rhetoric like on a dime, because they've been saying my entire life that abortion is murder, life begins at conception. Then the ruling passes. they start getting their asses kicked. And then the national Republicans, the smart ones, the ones that are actually running the show.
Hold on. Let's tap the brakes.
The smarter ones, the smarter ones. Or I'll put it this way. The less ideological ones, like the ones who are in it for the power, not necessarily for, the morality of it. They're like, okay, this is actually hurting us, so we need to put the brakes on this. But no, the state parties, like the people on the boots on the ground, they are excited. They love it. Like you hear them, and it's like, yeah, we want to push this as far as we can. And it's literally sending mixed messages to the American people, because they're like, oh, wow, the Republican Party is this barbaric, monstrous machine that wants to literally turn back the clock 160 years, and we don't want nothing to do with that. While the people who are serving in the national level are like, yeah, we can find a way to solve this. And I don't think they can. I just don't think they can. We got to find a poll on this, a corporal punishment thing. Now, I can't think of anything else. I can't think of anything else. That's like,
well, you know what? If you're watching this right now, do our homework for us and write in a comment what the percentage of Republicans are who support corporal punishment by either parents or teachers, and we will give you a very special prize that will not cost us anything.
It will be free. Yes. You will have our deepest congrats. And gratitude.
We'll give you a shout out on the next show.
We like it. We like it a lot. Yeah, that's some weird shit. We let me see. Hey, we got the head in the office guys. We're waiting for them. We can
we can look this up in between.
Yeah,
here.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
I do want to see it since we got a break. Let's see. Corporal Republicans school. Corporal.
I got a proposed ban on corporal punishment in Texas school fails again.
Of course.
5886.
5886. Oh, wow, got crushed.
Yeah.
Oh, hey,
oh
sorry,
God,
man. I didn't scare you.
Oh, hello.
See, I scared
there we go. Hey, look at you.
What's going on, fellas?
We're going all right. We just got done talking about the corporal punishment in schools thing, and we're trying to find out what percentage of Republicans support school corporal punishment, because the vote passed in the Oklahoma Senate 31-11, and I assume all 11 are Republicans, but nationally, I'm curious to know how many Republicans support not necessarily corporal punishment of children, because I'm positive that's the vast majority, but specifically in schools, I don't know, but we'll see what's going. How you been today, Jeremy? What's going on, man? Tell us what's up.
Can't complain. It's getting warmer outside. Happy about that at the very least. In terms of number of Republicans that support corporal punishment, probably far too many than to be comfortable with.
And any more than one is too many.
Well, we were wondering if it would be a majority, because I can see it being pretty close. Like a Republican, I can see it being 55, 60, percent, or it's not going to be like 80% against. That's not going to happen. But I'm curious to know how many, and it's actually kind of hard to find that number, because there's a lot of what's
going on? I see we got a different setup this time.
There he is.
Yeah, we were on Zoom with them last time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh
wow.
God,
my camera's inverted. Oh my God. I feel
There's an option to change that when you hop in, I think.
That's
what I did.
You're like, sure. It's like, yeah, that's what I did. I don't know if you laugh so much. Oh man. So bringing you up to speed, we were talking about the corporal punishment thing in Oklahoma, and the bill passed 31-11. I mean, the bill passed the Senate 31-11 against, and now it's going to the House. And all the 11 Republicans voted against it. And we were just curious, what the numbers would be nationwide. How many Republicans do you think would support corporal punishment in schools? And I don't know. I'm curious to know what that would be. Like a 2024 Republican, my gut feeling says majority would support it. But I don't think it'd be a heavy majority, but it'd still be a majority, I think. I'm not quite sure. I don't have the number, so I don't know. But that's what we were just talking about.
Wait. So you're telling me in Oklahoma there was a bill passed? or just proposed?
So the bill was to outlaw corporal punishment specifically for disabled kids, like not even all kids, but just disabled kids. And it passed the Oklahoma Senate. It passed against Republican opposition. 11 Republicans voted against it, and we so
that's crazy.
Yeah,
I can't imagine running my platform on wanting to beat disabled kids in school. That's not
what John was saying. It's exactly what John was saying.
I think I have to. I must actually change my answer here because I'm just seeing a study from University of New Hampshire, which it doesn't say 49% of Republicans support corporal punishment. It says that as of 2018, 49% of children were receiving corporal punishment.
I
don't think that's in school. I think that's
I'm about to say not in school. Okay, all right.
Oh, so, like in general, okay.
That still seems kind of high for today. Like 30 years ago, I would definitely imagine that. But Jesus, today, that is wild.
Yeah, it said 70. This is another thing. It says 74% of Americans disapprove of corporal punishment in school.
That sounds right.
So, assuming that 100% of Democrats don't,
we've come such a long way. Oh boy,
which is probably pretty close. I would hope. Yeah, it's still like at least probably 20-25% of Republicans.
And you were talking about the Oklahoma bill, right? And is that the one where the guy was like citing the Bible, saying like, "Oh, the Bible said this is cool."
Yes.
So why should we ban it? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, the Bible said a lot of things were cool.
Yeah.
I would love to get whenever people start to reference the Bible and everything and all this stuff, like the 10 Commandments one is my favorite. I love when people start to harp on the 10 Commandments, and I told John this before, but whenever they start doing that, I always ask them, can you name the 10 Commandments for me? Can you do that? Like 9 out of 10 times they can give you a couple. They can give you thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, and maybe 1 or 2 more. No shot they're giving you all 10. It won't happen. And when that doesn't happen, it never does. And the next thing I ask is, can you tell me what the first one is? Can you tell me what the first commandment is? They don't know that one either. And so, that is. Then say what?
Yeah,
it's not kill. Hey, yo.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not. It's not. The first commandment is thou shalt have no other gods before me. Which why that would need to be in a school, I don't know. But like apparently they think that's pretty important. But it is some pretty funny shit. I'm sorry, I can't believe the last time we had you guys on here was during Zoom. I feel like we've been doing this a long time, John, but I guess not. We've actually only been doing StreamYard for a couple of months or so because.
No, they were the first live, but we didn't switch to doing live.
Oh, gotcha.
A couple of them. I'm reading here. I don't have the Republican split, but a majority of American adults, 65% of women and 77% of men, still believe that children sometimes need a good spanking from their parents. So yeah. That's insane. I sometimes I'm a little too sunny side up. I'm a little naive, and Jesus fucking Christ, people are awful. Oh my God.
Gage is going to say something. What are you going to say, man?
Oh, I can't imagine hating my kids. That's nuts.
Oh, that's sad. That's sad shit.
Some people have children just to hit them, so can't take that away.
We all kind of nodded. Like we all know someone like that. It's like, it's kind of like how farmers used to have kids just to put them to work. Like somebody's like, I need to hit somebody, and they go and have some kids. Yes, it's sad shit. But
if you can't be a small business tyrant, you could be a tyrant to your kids at the very least.
Yeah, that's true. Also, one thing real quick before we move on to the actual topic here. We're talking about Biden and everything, but can we stop sucking the dick of small business owners? Can we stop it? Can people stop it? It's like like small business, like people, like small business owners, they're people, like everybody. They're just human beings. They're not like gods or anything like that. And I say this because my dad owned a small business when I was a teenager, and all the stories, like all like the hard scrabble, stuff they talk about. My dad got out of the army and he started like selling gear just to people around town and everything. And he started doing this more and more, buying people's old gear. We go to yard sales, buy out everything in the yard sale. And then he scraped together some money and rented like the shittiest building in the town. It was just awful. It was like we walked in, it was 2 inches of water over the entire thing. We had to like plug the pipe. We had to drain it. We had to rip up the carpet and lay down new carpet. whitewash all. We were doing all this like after like basketball practice up until like 10 o'clock at night, then going to school the next morning, everything. But my dad owned that business for a long time, and I got to see firsthand, like my dad is a saint. I love my dad so much. We have a fantastic relationship, but he is a capitalist to the core. So like I got to see firsthand like how much power small business owners can have over people just trying to get a job. I was like, oh, it did help shape my economic philosophy in a lot of ways. But that's why when people are like, we're look at this great small. I was like, all right. You know what? Fine. There's plumbers and carpenters and teachers too. Let's not, bow down at the altar of small business owner. That's just something I wanted out of there.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of like more left-leaning liberal types say make sure you support small businesses. This is a thing we heard a lot during the pandemic. But if you go a little too far north in Michigan and you start seeing Blue Lives Matter flags outside of small businesses, that actually goes away very quickly. Maybe don't support those small businesses.
I'd much rather hit up a Walmart than go to fucking, oh my God, than hit up some of these novelty stores. Oh my God.
Yeah. So maybe don't support all small businesses. That's all I'm going to say.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't assume anything about them just because they're a small business owner like that. Stop it. But all right, John, do you want to lead us into the Biden topic here?
Yes. So, guys, if you've been watching the left wing for any amount of time, you've probably quickly realized that we are not necessarily a pro-Biden show. In fact, we very much enjoy shitting on Biden. And we are going to have plenty of time to do that. We have 2 full topics later with plenty of opportunity to shit on Biden. However, I did want to take a moment to recognize that Biden, with one major exception, which we'll talk about later, had a pretty damn good week. There was a lot of really solid pro-American, pro-working class policy that was enacted this week. I wanted to talk about it, give it some space, and then ask an important question. So first, I'll just rattle off, some of the things that were accomplished. So number one, non-competes are no longer a thing. Non-compete clauses, which were part of a lot of employment contracts, would prevent employees from being able to seek employment by competing firms after they were either fired or left voluntarily, which obviously has a lot of problems, and they are a thing of the past. Construction on America's first high-speed rail began and was partially funded by Biden's infrastructure bill. The Department of Labor raised the threshold for mandated overtime pay, qualifying over 4 million Americans to receive that. And for those who are confused of how the threshold was raised, it's for salaried workers. So previously, I think it was like $36,000 and under, you didn't qualify, or you did $36,000 and over, you didn't qualify for overtime pay if you work more than 40 hours a week and were salaried. Now that threshold is at like 58,000. And lastly, the administration just cracked down on junk fees. For air travel.
Sounds like you're being sarcastic, John.
I'm sorry. No. I mean, it's true. It's true. Getting rid of a lot of they're gonna have to refund for cancellations, baggage fees, and all these other ticky-tack things are going to be a thing of the past. So my question here that I want to pose to the room is this: let's pretend that nothing is happening over in Israel and Gaza right now, and that is put to the side. We're living in an alternate reality where everything is basically what it was on October 5th. How would you feel right now about Biden's presidency if it wasn't for that? Because honestly, as much as I do not like Biden, I would feel pretty comfortable going to the public square and defending him, against Trump, and feeling good about myself for doing so. It's really hard for me to do that. Even with these things I would consider accomplishments, it's really hard to do that with the Gaza thing. Do you guys feel similarly? If it wasn't for Gaza, would you maybe feel much differently about stumping for Biden? Jeremy, I'll go to you first because you've been itching on that microphone, I can see.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're asking. And I was actually thinking the whole time you were reading off these sort of things that he did this past week, that if it weren't for Gaza, I mean, it's hard to see how he wouldn't have it in the bag, at least for the presidency. Who knows if Democrats win the House or whatever. But it's hard to see how Joe Biden doesn't win in November if Gaza, wasn't happening right now, given that Republicans are awful on abortion. Joe Biden has a ton of good populist, at least left-leaning economic policies. The NLRB has been fantastic, and so on. The issue I think Biden confronts, even if Gaza isn't happening, is that a lot of American voters have a hard time connecting economic accomplishments with Joe Biden himself. And we've seen this for a couple of years now. And also the things you mentioned, non-competes and so on, super important, right? I think like 18% of the workforce is covered by a non-compete, which is insane.
Wow.
But the
not anymore.
yeah, right. Well, but the thing is, like, the economic effects from air travel fees or non-competes and so on take a while for people to actually feel. You know, it'll be maybe a year or two before the real economic impacts are felt from these policies. They're all good policies, but who knows if it's close enough to make a difference. But of course, the major problem here is that Joe Biden's entire presidency now, for a lot of left-wing voters, is colored by how awful he is on Gaza, and there's not a ton he can do about that now.
Gage, what do you think?
I think if we're not considering Gaza and we're thinking about Joe Biden's presidency kind of as a whole, like you said, before October 7th, say on October 5th, I think there has been a lot of really good things done. Obviously not as much as I, as a leftist, as a progressive, would have wanted economically, but he has, like you've all mentioned, done great things. I would say, though, what would, I guess, stop me from being an ardent Biden supporter is something we've been covering on our pod for a long time now. And it's kind of his unwillingness. Well, he's kind of turned around on this, but he used to be very unwilling to sort of call conservatives out on their obstructionist bullshit. And there's a lot of instances where he allows rhetoric to slip rightward when it comes to public discussion. And especially when we look at things like immigration right now. The immigration issue is a huge issue outside of what's happening in Gaza, where he is just ceding ground to the right.
Wait, no. He's not ceding ground.
He's just being the right.
Moving as far to the right as he possibly
he is just moving Democrats to the right.
Yes.
But yeah, it's still, I do think what he's been doing economically has been great. I do think there have been some progressive things going on. I think obviously when you have a Democrat in power, it just is easier for progressive policies to work anywhere, wherever they are. But I still think I'll always think he's just kind of mid outside of the Israel issue.
So, all right. John, you asked, I think you asked two questions. You asked, how would, if Gaza wasn't going on right now, how would I feel about Biden's chances of winning? And how would I feel about publicly supporting him? I think those two questions you asked there.
I don't think I asked the first question, but go ahead and answer.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, all right. I misheard it then. All right. So, well, I would feel the same, honestly. I think I'd feel the same. I don't think it would change anything for me in how, like, his chances of winning. I don't think that not in chances. I guess his chances are lower with Gaza, like that, absolutely. But I still think he would win either way. But I don't think I would feel like super jazzed about it either, because like Gabe was talking about that these things are important. Like there are some things that are like, a lot of people don't fly. Like we're talking about like the flight things and stuff. I think if you fly on planes a lot and you travel a lot and you start to think other people do, like I've met people who've never left their state. I think most people I talk to have never left their state one time. They've never hopped on an airplane. So they hear that, if your flight is delayed by 3 hours, you get your money back. It's like, okay, great. I mean, I've never been on an airplane before. And so they would think that it's easy to dismiss. I did. And then like the salary thing, that's big. I didn't know the non-compete thing. I didn't know 18% of people were covered by non-competes. That is wild. And I only saw this because, did you guys see the interview with Jake Tapper talking about the non-competes? Did you guys see that yesterday? It was so glorious. Jake Tapper was on there, and I don't know who he was interviewing, but he was talking about non-competes. And he says, yeah, so, these non-competes are pretty restrictive, and it's not fair to workers. I have a non-compete, for example, he just kept talking about his non-compete for like 3 years. Like, looks like Jake Tapper is shopping himself around here. That was pretty golden. That was fantastic to see.
Just in case anyone is wondering, my non-compete clause is no longer binding.
Jake Tapper did the broadcaster version of changing your profile picture to just you instead of you and your spouse or something like that. Like, okay, all right, we know what's going on here. But No, I think that the American people are. I think Jeremy, you were talking about how economic effects take a while to actually take hold on people, and that's why people complain so much about gas prices and stuff, because that's an immediate thing they notice right away. Even though it's kind of ridiculous that there's no lever, in the Oval Office to control gas prices, but they're always going to blame the president for that. Even
TJ, there could be.
all right,
There could be. We choose not to have that, but
that's
we
true.
can have that.
We need a nationwide referendum for the gas prices switch. But like, even if it doesn't make sense, like, people will harken back to 2020, back when it cost more money to store oil and gasoline than it was actually worth. Like, it was worth less than $0. So yeah, gas was $1.95 or $2.15 for the first time in Earth, and everyone thinks, oh my God, gas was so cheap under Trump. Why can't Biden get gas prices down to $2 again, when that can't happen without collapsing the economy? So people are kind of myopic when it comes to this stuff, and I don't want to dismiss the stuff that Biden did, because it is good. On the margins, it does help, but in general, I still think he'd be all right either way.
Yeah,
and sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you got it.
Okay, I was just gonna say that I don't want to. I spoke kind of highly of what he's done. I also think there's this sort of liberal tendency now that Biden has done a lot for the economy to write off when people claim that they're feeling bad about their material conditions. Still, you'll often hear. You'll hear liberals, certainly like economist types, that'll say like, oh, well, working class people, they're just talking about the vibes-based economy. The vibes are bad, and that's why people are grading Biden poorly on the economy. But it's like, vibes matter. How people feel about the economy matters. And although you're right, gas prices can't literally go down to $1 a gallon, there are real things that are still afflicting people, like rent prices, like food prices, transportation costs, and everything else. I think the key for Biden will be to talk about what he's done, non-competes, travel fees, all this stuff is important, but to also paint a picture for what he would do if he had a Congress that would do it for him, or work alongside him to get it done. And I think that's what he's going to try to do. But again, back to the original question, it's so hard to do that, to break through the noise, when the noise is all about how awful he is on Gaza, and everyone's mad at him for that, or at least a large portion of the electorate, his electorate, is mad at him for that still.
And just to kind of speak to the vibes-based economy type thing, with the no junk fees on airlines, people buy eggs more than they fly. You know what I mean? That's a policy that is, while undeniably good, it will undeniably save consumers money. It's something that Democrats can take and say, look, we saved consumers X millions of dollars this year by doing this, when no individual consumer will actually feel that effect. And when you tout those things as major policy wins rather than a stepping stone that we should be doing along the way, you create that disconnect.
Mm-hmm. And that's the problem, that because the liberal economists who go, oh, it's a vibe session, it's not really real, where they're wrong, because they're right, like physically, like the overall macroeconomic indicators are pretty darn good right now. But the thing that they always fail to understand is that the vibe session isn't because of general indicators. The thing that pisses people off, and this has been studied over and over again ad nauseum, and I'm really pissed at economists for not understanding this, because it is at its face behavioral economics. It's the thing that pisses people off is not having money. It's having less money than the guy next to you. And you will see this across the board, that the biggest indicator for civil unrest is wealth inequality.
Yeah,
it's not overall poverty levels. It's wealth inequality. And what we have seen is, even though the economy has continued to do good, Biden hasn't done diddly shit to actually address the massive wealth inequality that we have in America. And that wealth inequality, it pisses off people on the left, it pisses off people on the right, it pisses off everyone. And when what you're talking about there is that when you tout these small little things as major accomplishments, everyone's just like, well, fuck you, I'm still living in the same shitty country that I was 4 years ago. And yeah, it's marginally better. And this is the problem with liberalism time and time again, is that you can marginally improve things all you want. If you don't fix the fundamentally broken system, the wealth inequality is just going to continue and continue and continue to rise, because that's what it naturally does under capitalism. And until you fix that, it doesn't matter how good your macroeconomic indicators are, because people are going to be pissed off.
That's true. That's good. That's a segment right there. I want to talk about.
I'm actually I've been trying to like say that in a pithy way for like so long.
It was
and
good.
I feel like
That
I
was
nailed
good.
it.
It was.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I was gonna say, like, if you give us an hour, we can talk about why capitalism is so awful.
Well, yeah, I wanted to add to it, but mine was just kind of like tangential and everything. But it's just that so I'm keeping that in that segment. But that is really annoying. That the reason that people like us exist is because of this right here. Is that the Democrats will come along and say, well, look how bad the Republicans are. We can get in here and we can stop this. And it's like, all right, we'll tweak a few knobs here and there. And you're like, okay, this is good. I mean, I can't tell you it's bad. I mean, I can't say that this is a negative thing. But then you're forced to deal with regular people. Forced. I think you live in a world with regular people who don't follow this stuff and everything. And you're trying to talk about politics. And it's annoying to me to have to do this. I can't imagine being the person who's actually in charge and someone walks up to you, and I forget which one of you gave the example about the price of eggs and everything. It's like, yeah, listen, I know that groceries are expensive and everything, and you have the car payment, you can barely afford your rent. But if you look here, the line is going up. So I don't see what the problem is. Like, what are you complaining about? The line is going up. That's a good thing. It's like, if people don't feel that, like in their regular day-to-day life, you're fucked. And once again, we are so incredibly lucky that we're running against Donald Trump and an insane Republican Party. Like, we are very lucky that that's the opposition and not a competent, the evil group of people, just evil instead of competent.
Yeah, and I would note that like that specific phenomena is why we see far right figures like Trump rise up in the first place, right? Because liberals and conservatives both sort of buy into austerity and deregulation and taking benefits away from working class people. And then things undeniably get worse economically. People's material conditions get worse. And then a strong man like Donald Trump comes along and says, I have all the answers. It's the fault of immigrants. It's the fault of crime in the inner city, which is just a proxy for black people. He blames all these different groups, and he offers people an answer to why they feel so alienated and angry and feel like they're being ripped off at work all the time. And that sort of alienation should be prime fertile ground for leftists to grab onto and say, look, we offer an economic outlook where everybody can be equal, economic democracy. But because liberals so thoroughly marginalize leftist voices, and the right doesn't do the same for far right voices, it isn't the same thing. And liberals are certainly complicit in this sort of process where we see Donald Trump gain power, and we can see it play out in other countries too, like Argentina has Javier Milei now, or Turkey with Erdogan, or Hungary with Viktor Orban. It's all the same sort of process. It's the left being marginalized, economic conditions worsening, and then it's sort of the ratchet effect where a far right figure rises up and claims power for himself.
Yeah, they're better at demagoguing. They're better, and I would know because I am a demagogue, and so I know I can tell you a good one when I see one. And like the heretic pointed out, is that the Biden administration's failed to direct the energy of fixing the economy towards the core price gouging and blaming it on a nebulous inflation. Like, what that is true. Like they do, like, inflation is higher. Once again, I don't know if this is exactly their fault, because this is hard to kind of can into a message that yes, inflation is higher than it was, 4, 5, 6 years ago. Like, the actual rate of inflation is higher. However, the rate of inflation is decreasing at a faster rate than it had been over that time. There's no quick way to say that. I'm sorry, there isn't. And so, like, you have good luck explaining that to them, and good luck having Joe Biden do it too. That also, I meant to bring that up as well, that the messenger is also not that great. I mean, like, the vibes check is real, and Joe Biden, he could have done the vibes thing 10 years ago. Like, he still had the juice to do it back then. He doesn't have it anymore. Like, he's barely holding himself together on stage. And yeah, once again, like, we're lucky it's Trump and not literally any other Republican.
it's that is like the big thing that liberals, it really pisses me off, because it's almost like in their brain that their political leaders have no responsibility to change people's minds. You always hear them go like, oh, social media is the problem. Oh, the media not reporting things accurately is the problem. It's like, no, they do what they're designed to do under the current system, which you are upholding. And so like that's what they're doing. It's the fucking Democrats' job to change people's minds about this shit. And they can't because their leader wears diapers, and it's very difficult for him to do so. And it's so upsetting. It's so frustrating. They're just like, oh well, too bad America's racist. It's like, whose fucking job is fixing that? What are we just gonna be? Well, too bad. We just got to go with the racists, I guess. Nothing we can do about it. Like, oh my god, it pisses me off. Let's run to the next segment because that one pisses me off more. But before we do so, let's cut our outro tag while I'm still here. So same thing as we did before, guys. I'm gonna start it off. I'm gonna throw to Jeremy, who will throw to. What should I actually call you?
GKZ. It doesn't say Gage on there. It says GK. I like GKZ. I do like that. GKZ. I like it.
I'm just gonna call you GKZ, man. I think GKZ. That's your new name. You're like what DJ Jazzy Jeff. And then TJ will take over once you're done. So okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching our show today. If you were, we're fucking fuck it. I'm starting again. Everyone,
real as hell.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching this show today. Depending on which show you watch from this week, you either just watched a video of us complimenting Joe Biden or absolutely shitting on him, or maybe us shitting on the Republicans. So it was a wide array of what we got to shit on this week. And Jeremy, what was your favorite thing to shit on? We haven't even shit on them yet. Shit on them all yet.
I always love to shit on Joe Biden. I never won't shit on Joe Biden. Of course, we go after Republicans too, because they're pretty bad. But gotta shit on Joe Biden every once in a while. He's the guy in power after all. So
and Jeremy, if people want to hear you shit on Joe Biden some more, where can they find you?
Head in the Office podcast, or just Head in the Office, available on all platforms.
This is the part where G Cozy Kaz was supposed to say something.
You gonna throw them in there?
As we went
through,
through.
it was getting thrown to me.
My bad.
My bad. I'll throw. What do I even say? What's up, I'm Gage. I'm also with Head in the Office.
I swear we're professionals here, folks. Thanks a lot for tuning into the show. We really appreciate you guys. If you're curious about my favorite thing to shit on, that would be Tucker Carlson's mom. It's made even more fun to do it because she's dead. So please join into the show next time. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
Tucker Carlson's mom just catching ricochet shots from the grave.
Listen.
Oh
If she'd done a better job raising her son, I wouldn't have to resort to this shit. I wouldn't have to do it. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't know her.
He is a demagogue. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know. I was thinking about people to shit on. And my first thought was like one of you guys' mom. I didn't want to say that. That just seems mean. And it doesn't seem funny. And then I thought someone goes, "Oh yeah, Tucker Carlson." And then I remember him talking about his mom dying or something. All right, good. We got an easy one right there. Fantastic.
Shit on Jesse Waters. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Listen, I'm so glad you said that, G Kazi Kaz, because I remember I saw a video you guys did. I think it may have even been a live YouTube you guys did where you were talking about Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters he's one of the worst human beings on planet Earth. It's awful. And you guys brought up something that was really great that I was so fucking pissed off that I didn't do a video on. Because god damn it, this is right up my alley right here. Because you guys talked about how Jesse Waters is the replacement for Tucker Carlson and how, he's just a dumber version of Tucker Carlson. Yeah. And it's a lot like how Tucker Carlson was a replacement for Bill O'Reilly. And listen, I don't know if you guys ever watched Bill O'Reilly.
Version of Bill O'Reilly.
He's a dumber version of Bill O'Reilly. And it's like Bill O'Reilly was an amazing broadcaster. Like the guy was fantastic. Really? I mean, like you didn't see a lot of people with the broadcasting talent that he had. And he was passionate about it too. I don't know if you guys saw the "fuck it, we'll do it" live video just because the teleprompter was broken. I mean, like the guy really brought 110% to it. Then he got fired. Then Tucker Carlson comes in, who would accurately point out how Bill O'Reilly is a charlatan, how he pretends he's this hard scrabble, Irish American immigrant guy, just salt of the earth dude. He's not that kind of guy. But he was able to sell to people that he was that. And Tucker Carlson did that in a less polished way. And then Jesse Waters is up there and he's like, what's the deal with them black folk, right? I mean, like, he's just like straight. It is just, and this thing with Jesse Waters, more than anyone else, like John and I were talking about nihilism earlier. Jesse Waters is a nihilist. Like the guy, like you watch him, he knows 100% what he's doing. He knows that he's just saying bigoted shit for money. He doesn't even take it seriously, which makes me even more upset because I don't take this shit seriously. Do I make Jesse Waters money? No, I should. I could. Like, why not? And so, yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I meant to congratulate you guys or thank you guys for doing that segment on Jesse Waters. It was fantastic.
That segment. Oh, go ahead.
He's just the lowest common denominator. Like I don't know how else to put it. He's a charisma suck. He's just a leech. Like
that segment specifically. That segment specifically was him on another podcast where he thought that $20 an hour was a 6-figure salary, which was
Did you see that, John?
Impressive.
No. Yeah,
and then he got corrected. He got corrected. They said no, it's like $40K, and he was like, okay, so if you and your wife are working at McDonald's, that's what $100,000. It's like nope, $80K.
It was on Patrick Bet-David's show. Is when he was doing that.
God,
Yeah. It's like, boy, to get schooled by Patrick Bet-David, man, buddy, you got holy shit. Yeah. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Sorry, John. Let's do.
Yeah, so let's just we'll keep it moving here. Let's talk about I think this is the biggest news story going on right now. I'm always a little disconnected from like what mainstream news is talking about, but it feels like the biggest news story right now is what's going on at Columbia and other college campuses across the country. For those unaware, there have been sweeping protests, and this really the epicenter of this started at Columbia, where many student organizations came together to take over one of the grassy areas on Columbia's campus and set up an encampment. And they have been constantly there, living there in tents ever since. And they have some pretty simple demands. They want their university, which they intend to pay money to divest its investments from Israel and Israeli companies. And they also want them to be transparent about where their money is being invested, which seems like pretty reasonable demands. If I'm giving you money, I'd like to know what you're doing with it. However, Columbia and, of course, every other university that is being subject to these protests right now aren't budging because they don't want to do that for reasons that I think should be obvious to everyone. And it's gotten to the point where I think that this situation could end with something really bad and big happening, because it really seems like a unstoppable or really an unmovable object meets unmovable object scenario. Because on one end, you have college students who are really, really, really pissed off and have nothing to lose. And I don't know if you've ever met pissed off college students with nothing to lose, but they are not an easily movable group of people because there's nothing you can threaten them with. And then on the other hand, you have universities who have billions of dollars in donations coming from, especially in Columbia's instance, very, very wealthy, very, very pro-Israel people. When these protests have come to a head in the past around the Vietnam War, around South African apartheid, that's the factor that was missing. the institutions didn't want to give in to the protesters, but it's not like they had their massive mega donors being like, we're definitely going to pull the plug on all of our funding if you give in to these students, in the same way that they're going to do now. And so in those situations in the past, we have had armed military force come into campus and literally murder students. It happened at Kent State back in 1970. And I honestly don't see that ending really any other way here. Like, I don't know if anyone dies, but I don't see this happening, this ending without massive government force used against peaceful protesters on college campuses. I could be wrong, but it does seem like we're about to be taking a lot of pictures that are going to be in history books for a long time to come. What do you guys think? You guys are not too far removed from college, correct? Or you're
1 year.
1 year removed from college, so you might be a little bit more in the know than I am. But what have your guys' thoughts been on this situation as it has unfolded?
Go ahead, Gage, you got it.
Well, I mean, thoughts on the general situation. It's like, yeah, talk your shit. You know what I'm saying? But just speaking to what you're saying about how this could end badly, I think we're already kind of starting to see things escalate. Specifically, I don't quote me on this. I was trying to catch up. Like, work's been crazy. You know what I mean? I've been trying to catch up before I hopped on. I think it's at UT Austin. Police are already there, and I don't want to say brutalizing protesters, but they're arresting protesters. I've seen videos of them tasing protesters on the ground that are already restrained. They're walking through campus armed. I don't know if the National Guard is there, but I've heard there have been talks. There's also an element of it's hard to separate what's going on with people in right-wing media who want to kind of stir the pot and what's actually happening on the ground, because I am disconnected in space and time from what's going on. But things are already starting to look pretty bad. Like, Greg Abbott has already he's already come and made statements saying that he wants all of these protesters arrested and anyone engaging in these needs to be expelled from Texas schools, which is kind of insane for practicing your First Amendment right, when Greg Abbott himself is a guy who signed a bill saying that your First Amendment rights, no matter what party you're on, need to be protected on college campuses specifically. So what's going on there is kind of it's a bit crazy.
Yeah, there's a sort of extreme hypocrisy right now. There's a sort of, it's like a moral panic happening for conservatives and some liberals as well. And they're the same crowd that's always talking about the First Amendment. We need to protect free speech, whether it's online or on college campuses, specifically for conservatives. But suddenly when left-wing movements and protesters and students go out and exercise the First Amendment right, there's this major issue and they need to be arrested so that they can be stopped. And the one thing that I thought was pretty apparent when I was looking at all this news is that a lot of political commentators, certainly on the right, like to paint universities as these sort of centers of liberal indoctrination. But when you take a look at what's happening at Columbia, or I think Yale is another one, UT Austin, you can pretty clearly see that that is obviously fake, right? Like, these universities are ran in incredibly rigid ways with rigid hierarchies that are pretty strictly enforced. Usually when students are making noise, they can just be ignored. But when you're doing encampments on your college campus, and these encampments are spreading throughout the nation and at different schools in different states, suddenly you can't really ignore them anymore. And when they're demanding that you divest from interests that you don't want to divest from, or you divest from, like, I don't know, stock portfolios that give money to Raytheon or whatever, that's something you can't really ignore. And I think a lot of this stems from universities fundamentally being ran for revenue. These aren't institutions that are really public utilities as they maybe used to be or as they could be, but now they're ran to make money. And if you want to make money, you got to keep people in their spot, which means maintaining the status quo and ensuring nobody steps out of line. And when students do step out of line and threaten your pocketbooks, you call the police on them to get them to stop. And the last thing I'll say is that there's been a lot of accusations of anti-Semitism. Sort of all of these encampments have been painted with the broad brush of this is anti-Semitic. And I'm sure there are people that are saying, like, we are literally Hamas. Like, you could probably find a few people that are saying that kind of thing. But I want to note that in previous movements, say the civil rights movement, for example, I'm sure you could have found someone that was like, I irrationally hate all white people because they're white. But that doesn't mean that the aims of the broader movement are suddenly invalid. I think people are blasting these claims of anti-Semitism way out of proportion, but that's kind of to be expected when it's a pro-Palestine movement. So,
Yeah. I knew that a lot of my points would be taken by you guys, not because like, I'm hacky and lazy, but you guys are smart, and so I knew you guys. So I want to kind of hit the notes of that we're bearing the lead here. That Gage says he's disconnected from time and space. He's literally a fourth dimensional being. That's good to know. I don't not to get on his bad side. That's important information. Remember that before we schedule, folks. But I want to reiterate something Jeremy said, talking about how we live in this society that fetishizes. Well, we pretend to fetishize the First Amendment and free speech and protest. We always talk about how great it is. Like we grow up being told how awesome something like the Boston Tea Party was, but you do 10 cents worth of damage. Now you're a terrorist. Now oh my God, like what is wrong with you? Like, how dare you block a road or something? It's like, okay, are we for this protest stuff or not? And once again, the protest, like the reason for the protest matters. Like if you're protesting something stupid, yeah, I'm gonna be upset if you you damage property and shit like that. But if you're protesting what's happening now in Gaza, I don't know how you could shit on someone for that, or how you could be annoyed and upset by it. And one thing you guys didn't say that John might say, so I say it real quick before he says it, is that so their protest, specifically the one in Colombia we're talking about, was they want to divest from Zionist friendly organizations, stuff like that, and everyone acts like that's unreasonable when we literally have. I checked right before the show. 38 states with anti-BDS laws. There are 30, like the vast majority of the 50 states, it is illegal for you to, or you cannot work for the state if you advocate in anti-BDS boycott, divestiture, and sanctions. If you advocate for BDS, and that's a First Amendment violation I've ever seen one, and no one seems to give a fuck. Like nobody, and even like a college kid just saying, "Hey, how about my school that I go to, that I pay tuition to? How about they do what I want with that money?" Nope. And then, what you mentioned, I was going to mention too about in Texas, how they got the fucking cops there. They are brutalizing people. I saw one cop like body slam, like this cameraman or something like that. It's insanity. And I think you're right, John, that this is not something that's going to play over well with the people. Like if they haven't been paying attention by now, they're still like Kent State was like what 55 years ago almost. It's still pretty powerful. It's like, oh yeah, they fucking shot kids protesting the Vietnam War. Those kids were right. And I don't know if you guys have seen the post I've seen. Is like, hey, if you're on the side like in history that's telling people protesting for peace in college they're wrong, you're usually not on the correct side of history. So I think that it's bending more toward our direction. It's taking too long, but it's where we are getting there. Well,
that's the thing. It's just like this particular story. There's so much in the entire saga that has happened, and I mean since October 7th and well before then as well, that should piss anyone off who has any non-broken moral compass. But like this is just a cacophony of things that piss me off, because not only is that all of the things that piss me off about Israel Gaza, that like people don't understand what's going on, that like people pretend that this is some complicated moral question when it is not, that also on top of that you're having this clear and obvious First Amendment issue where you would really goddamn hope that the average American would be like, okay, there's protests going on. And at least back in the day, the Vietnam War protests, they at least had the fucking decency to like lie about the fact that these protests were violent and hurting people. Now they're just lying about the fact that they're anti-Semitic. And like, don't get me wrong, anti-Semitism is very bad and like shouldn't happen. But like, it's protected fucking First Amendment speech. Like, yeah, you can say the people who are like, oh, I am Hamas. There's definitely some of them, but that's still protected First Amendment fucking speech. I don't understand the moral difference between saying I am Hamas and saying I am pro-Israeli. In fact, I actually do, because Israel has killed tens of thousands more people than Hamas. It is way more morally justifiable to be pro-Hamas than pro-Israel, but we're acting like some random college students who are on the tangents of this protest saying something that is pro-Hamas is somehow justifies bringing police officers with guns onto the campus to remove them by force. It makes utterly no sense. It's as if I'm hearing like when you're a kid and you're hearing adults speak about things you don't quite understand, and they kind of go against everything you understand about morality, but they, like, for whatever reason, they're saying this thing is okay because they're lying to you. Like that's how this feels. It feels like the kids are the adults in the room, and all of the adults are pretending like they aren't, and it really pisses me off.
It's like, also, I think with the issue of how colleges are responding to this, when we look at statements from these like university presidents or people like Greg Abbott, a lot of how these protests have been framed are as disruptions. And a lot of the places these protests are happening at are public universities. And so they are obligated by nature to have to uphold your first, second, third, fourth, all of your amendment rights, right? They're extensions of the government, kind of based on the funding that they receive, based on their status as public institutions. And they are framing their kind of protest busting as being, you have a right to protest. You've heard this from many university presidents, and Greg Abbott, I think. While you have a right to protest, you do not have the right to disrupt other people in their daily activities, which is bullshit.
Which is what a protest fucking is. Like, that's what it is.
Exactly. You can't protest for anything if you cannot disrupt anything in any way, shape, or
Same
form.
fucking argument was made against MLK, guys, and it was
Exactly.
wrong then and it's wrong now.
I've seen so many arguments talking about how, oh, well, they're stopping kids from getting to classes because people put tents on an area.
Yeah, they're not.
Fucking city block, maybe size area of grass. Oh no, you have to walk around it. I was in college a year ago. I literally know. Like, when pro or anti-abortion protesters would come pull up to football games and take over a sidewalk with literal fake pictures of like dead babies and shove them in my face, I just walked around them. Nobody said that was disruptive. No, even though that was visceral.
Yeah, at my university, I remember my freshman year brought out like this outdoor TV screen that was like massive, the size of like a projector, and it was just pictures, B-roll basically, of fetuses being cut in half because they wanted to talk to kids about how bad abortion was. But nobody cares when that kind of thing happens. I mean, I say like they're dumb for being on campus, but I'm not going to take away the right to do it. And the thing that gets me about Columbia is Columbia University is mocked by the people that go there as the protest school. It has a history of having student protests at it, and the administrators know this. They sort of use this as a kind of piece of pride to say like, oh yeah, we encourage student activism, we encourage student leadership. But suddenly when the students do leadership, when they are active in their community and making demands, suddenly it's a bad thing. It's all fake, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you guys are talking about protests that happened when you were in school. I remember back when I was in college, we had a lot of people protesting the telegraph and the horseless carriage. You know, they didn't think that it would help the economy all that much. They were worried. But what you remind me of is John, when you talked about how saying I am pro-Hamas is protected for free speech. It is true. It reminded me of a debate between William F. Buckley and Gore Vidal, and it was during the Vietnam War. And there were these people who were protesting the Vietnam War who tore down an American flag like from the town square, and they instead put up a flag of for the Viet Cong. And then cops came and beat the shit out of him. And he's like, doesn't that seem like an act of aggression? He goes, why is it an act of aggression to fly their flag? Like, why? He's like, well, what does it matter? Like that's their free speech. If they support them, then they can do it. It's like, yeah, it's true. And I hadn't thought about that. That's pretty good. But I know John doesn't have a lot of time here, but I had a surprise. Oh, I'm sorry, John. I'm going to add more onto that before I do that.
I just wanted to say, and I'm looking for this on the site, so I can't confirm whether or not this is live on the Columbia website right now. But it was live on the Columbia website. And it is, hold on. This is a statement that was on the Columbia website regarding how I'll just read it. Columbia is a far different place today than it was in the spring of 1968 when protesters took over university buildings amid discontent about the Vietnam War, racism, and the university's proposed expansion into Morningside Park. After a week-long standoff, New York City police stormed the campus and arrested more than 700 people. The fallout dogged Columbia for years. It took decades for the university to recover from these turbulent times. Columbia has now one of the most socioeconomically diverse student bodies among its peer institutions. It's at a new campus designed to open the community and pursue fields of inquiry, blah, 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 blah. Point is, They fucking lie all the time about this bullshit that like, oh, we are different now. No, you're fucking not. You are still siding with your fucking donors because that's where you're making your fucking millions. And that's it. That's the story. That was the story in Vietnam. It's the story now. Every time these fucking institutions put a fucking rainbow flag up, it's just a goddamn lie. They don't give a shit.
It's camouflage.
It's fucking camouflage, and it should piss everyone off. It should piss conservatives. It should piss conservatives off fucking more. You know, like we're talking about small, but like ideologically, we want to talk about small government. We want to talk about securing our freedoms. This is it, people. Like this is people using their fucking freedom, their right to protest. If there were actually fucking like assaults and harassment going on, we would see police reports about them. Like they would be happening, they would be reported, but they're not because it's all fucking made up. And even if it wasn't made up, it still wouldn't be a reason to shut down the protest. I'm fucking living in fucking Candyland, Fantasyland. Thank you, Fractal. Hell yeah to you.
Yeah, it is a nightmare. And it's like, especially when you consider what's going on, that if you're not protesting, there's something wrong with you. And one thing I want to show while John was still here, if you had a couple minutes, John, this is an interview I saw. I'm sure you guys saw the stories about the mass graves that they found in front of, the hospital in Gaza. And there was like, I think 300 and some bodies they found buried there. A lot of them were, handcuffed and everything. And there was an interview. I don't remember who did the interview, but the person that they were talking to was the deputy mayor of Jerusalem. Her name was Fleur Hassan Nahum. And they're asking her, what her feelings are about, one of this will play. Let me see.
Is found in a mass grave at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. The UN Human Rights Chief has said he is absolutely horrified. Who do you think those bodies are?
Probably terrorists, because the ratio of combatant to innocent that Israel has is unprecedented in modern warfare. We know we've killed about 15,000 terrorists. There was a terrible battle in those areas. So the chances are...
How do you think these people died?
In gun battles with Israel.
Why do you think some of the bodies were found with ties around their hands?
Well, because we probably arrested the terrorists.
And then killed them.
Well, I don't know if the terrorists fought back. I wasn't there. But all I can tell you is that this has been a very difficult urban warfare, that nobody on earth has experienced this type of warfare, where the terrorists are hiding in tunnels, where they're cowards because they won't face their enemy. They just leave innocent people up there whilst they hide in tunnels that are bigger than the London Underground. And they come out, they shoot, and it could be that many of them were shot and they were shooting in a battle. And it could be that there were bombs thrown by them and grenades. There could be a million different scenarios of why these were found. But remember, we're in the middle of a war.
I just to clarify for me, if you would, how do they fight back with their hands tied behind their backs?
Well, we don't know what they were doing before their hands were tied behind their backs, do we?
No, but if you've managed to cable tie them, they shouldn't subsequently find them dead, should we?
And maybe, again, we're just conjecturing. Maybe his friend threw a grenade, and then what happens? Maybe there was a missile, maybe they threw a rocket, and then what happens? Again, this is conjecture. I wasn't there, you weren't there. We can't know. All I know is that our army has the highest...
There was Amnesty International, and they say there's at least 280...
Yeah, so that's what we're dealing with here. And like, if that doesn't just boil your blood, like you're not just filled with rage watching that, I don't know what's wrong with you. Like there, I doubt your commitment to this whole being a human being thing. Like where is your empathy? Like, how can you see someone on there saying, well, look, we don't know what they did before they were cuffed, It's like, all right, so you killed them. Well, they could have been hit by a missile or who knows? Like, who knows? It's just like how, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I had to share that because it just shows, like, if you don't understand why these college kids are protesting, that's why right there. Because they're like the half-assed effort in even trying to defend this. They don't even bother trying to rationalize a halfway decent life for this. Like, yeah, we did it. So what? That's what it comes down to.
I mean, the State Department came out and said they have a board. They've said we should be sanctioning IDF soldiers in the IDF because we have found evidence of them torturing and raping teenagers, and they just aren't doing that. Like the Joe Biden knows that IDF soldiers have raped teenagers, and he just isn't doing anything about that. And when I watch clips like every once in a while, like 30 minutes ago, we were talking about, hey, good things Joe Biden has done. But like every time I see a clip like that, my blood boils. Like I'm not, and I'm a pacifist, but like if someone said that to my face, I would fucking scream at them. Like, oh my God. And if you wonder if these kids are going to go away on these college campuses, no, the fuck they are not. They like, why would they when they are barraged by these videos and these images and these dumbass fucking explanations for human atrocities every single day and told to act like it's normal? It's not normal. What these college kids are doing is normal, and what the government is doing is fucked up. And until people start fucking recognize the basic kindergarten level morality of that, I'm never going to stop being pissed.
Agree. I want to say I've never seen anything like that, but we have. We keep seeing this shit. Whenever you see some Zionist official like, well, what happened is, they painted a fake tunnel and led them there with bird seed and just
there was an anvil perched up top.
What is going on here? It's just like, it's insulting. It really is that insulting.
I love the idea of throwing rockets. I'm just picturing fucking like Joe Burrow, like back in fucking Hamas, just throwing rockets over the Israeli border. Just
not even to mention that she said we've confirmed killed 15,000 terrorists, which dubious. Not going to believe that, but also that leaves 15,000 innocent people that you've killed that you're just admitting to. Like that's the number you admit to.
Yeah. It's well, the way they run the numbers, we talked about this before, is that like 2/3 of the people they've killed are women and children, and the other third were terrorists. So literally every man they've killed, they're just like, oh yeah, he was a terrorist. That's what it goes like. It's
every military age male. Come on.
15 and up. Yeah.
Oh,
it was.
I'm going to get running. Thank you guys for joining. Sorry about the timing issues this week. But always love having you guys on. We'll have you on again in the future.
For sure.
And I'll be hitting you guys up. I'd love to come on your show if you guys
bet.
You guys do guests, right?
Yeah. Rarely,
okay, cool.
But we do.
Yeah. Okay. I'll hit you up in like a month and like be like, put me on your show. All right. See you guys.
There you go. I was about to make a reference that you guys probably won't get. I don't know if this is like from like the late 90s when like John inviting himself on you guys' show. It reminded me of when Suge Knight was at the Grammys or whatever, and he was slamming P. Diddy. He's like, if you want a producer who's not all up in your videos, dancing and everything. I don't know if you guys remember that. That's so long ago, but that's what it reminded me of.
I don't know how you guys manage to like get guests for every show, or at least most of the shows that you do. It's such a pain planning guests for us. Like I hate figuring out time schedules and stuff.
They invited me onto the show. Like some part of this time last year, like somewhere spring, summer last year, there were 4 hosts back then. And I kind of just like, I would do something. We have like substitute guests. Like if people can't make it, we have like a list of 5 or 6 people who would just love to hop on. And I was one of those folks. Like, yeah, you put a microphone in front of me, I'm going to talk. Let's go. And so they're like, yeah, you want to be a main? I was like, yeah, sure. So now it's just me and John. The other 2 hosts had the other projects that they. This is like, you do it for free. This is just like something like a passion project. And people have, like you said, work. They got lives and stuff. So now it's just me and him. But when I came on, I had been doing social media for a long enough time that I'd go like you guys were on this. I've contacted so many people and gotten to know them, and I'm fortunate enough to have a big list. And so right about the time the other 2 hosts left, I had like a roster of like 30 people that I want. So that's helped out a lot too. And then John has a bunch from, before the show. So it is kind of a pain, but once you get used to it, it's not so bad. Like, I mean, you just send the topics. That's the only part that's actually difficult is getting the topics together. I'm sorry, guys. Like Wolfie, he likes to bother me during the show or whatever. He likes to get in my way. But no, I really wanted to show that video because it seems like every day you see another video like that. Like just more and more insight. It's like they're playing a game to see like how ridiculous they can make these excuses and still get away with it. It's just insulting.
And then
Israel,
to tack on the most moral army in the world at the end.
Oh, fuck off. It's so Trumpian too.
50% success rate in people you have taken away from this earth. And you're saying that that's great? That's good?
Yeah,
That's
Israel is like,
I cannot get a 50% on a calc exam and pass the class.
yeah, Israel is like comedically evil, and it's I think a theory that I've seen other people offer is that the reason they're so bad at propaganda is because they've never had to rely on their own effectiveness when it comes to like getting weapons or military equipment and stuff like this. They've always had the US or the UK previously back in like the 1940s that they could rely on to get military funding. They've never had to do it themselves, so they don't even really have to try. They don't have to be propagandistic. They just have to do whatever they want. They'll get funding no matter what.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm glad it's coming because it's worked. It's just like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, why would they bother changing? And I think it's just now starting to change. And I mean, I gotta say, like, I would have, if you would have talked about this 10 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, of course Israel's like what they're doing is correct. Like, of course, like they're surrounded by a bunch of like the barbarian horde. Like every day they have to do this stuff. It's like that's what we're taught, from childhood. Yeah. And then you grow up and you learn more about what's going on. And I just feel so deeply embarrassed about how, and then it's hard for me to, I have this like split feeling on it where I'm really upset with people who will just go to the mat for Zionism all the time. But that is just what you've been taught your entire life. I mean, it's a lot of people don't pay attention to anything outside of like that. And it's like, I can say that, there's something wrong with you if you're not, seeing clips like that, but they don't see clips like that. They get up, they go to work, they feed their kids, they have 30 minutes to relax to themselves, to, play video games or do whatever they want, have a glass of wine, they go to bed and they do the same thing over again. They don't know any of the shit that's going on. So they'll see on the news, and then our news media is so right wing, is like these, rabble rousers and hell raisers and these pampered brats at Columbia University. Look what they're doing. They're trying to, they hate Jewish people, and they're going to believe it. They're going to. It's just, it's sad, but that's the world we live in.
And that's the thing that gets me about the mass graves video that you just played, right? Because there is a sort of ambiguity to it. Like, we know that everyone that was buried in that mass grave was not a terrorist, but I can't necessarily prove it, right? All we have is a pile of bodies, a giant hole, and an IDF spokesperson who's saying, oh, no, they were all terrorists. I'm not over there. I can't really prove it, but like, we know intuitively, like, this is nonsense, especially with the number of innocent people in Gaza that have been killed. And that's the sort of frustrating part about breaking through sort of the lies that the IDF has been telling, is like, for a lot of things, you can't prove it definitively, but based on all the other evidence we have, it's pretty clear that Israel is not the most moral military in the world that they're always positioned as.
And it's like, just speaking to the like sweeping anti-Semitism claims that have been levied at these protesters, you can find someone in any group of people who is willing to say anything or who has said anything wrong. I'll get on here and I'll say easily, anti-Semitism is bad. You should not speak anti-Semitically, right? But that doesn't mean that if, say, 4 people in Dearborn, like what happened recently, are chanting death to America, that doesn't mean that should be given attention by the president only to the death to America part and not to the broader protest that's going on, where people are saying, look, we should not be complicit in this genocide that's happening. It's about a focus on the wrong aspects of things that are going on. You can find anyone to say anything. Sure, I'm willing to bet that there are a couple of kids on these college campuses that are saying things that are anti-Semitic, and I'm willing to get on here and say that's wrong. However, that does not mean anything. That does not mean the content of the broader protest is wrong.
Yeah. I like I like the liberal answer to the anti-Semitism thing, where they're like, Palestinians are Semites too, right? So they can't be like, okay, look, all right. Yeah. It just is like, listen. Yes, I understand that if we're speaking, I don't know, like etymologically, sure, yeah, that's correct, but that's That's not what they mean when they say, I hate when liberals do that diversion thing off of, stick to the topic. All right, stick to the actual topic here, right? It's like, I don't know. That's just something, I don't know if you guys have seen that. Have you heard liberals say stuff? Okay, all right.
I've seen
it wasn't just...
and it is so annoying every time, because it's like, dog, you and I both know what terms we're engaging on.
Yes.
Actively derailing the conversation.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me when conservatives say, I'm not homophobic. I'm not scared of gay people. It's like, okay. It's like, do you think like hydrophobic molecules are actually scared of water?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's what's going on here? It's like, no, it's like, what these phrases, words don't have meanings as much as they have usages. And we're using it in a way that I know you understand, but you're just being obtuse about it. Liberals and conservatives both do this. I try my best not to do it, but it just bothers me when people do. It just kind of, it kind of drives me insane.
Yeah. It's like language is descriptive, not prescriptive.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
How we get rhetorical shift.
What I haven't got an article about this or anything. This was John's topic, but it's cool. I feel like I'm shitting on John. I'm not. These two things having to come. Like, I like what he invited.
Yeah, now that he's gone. Now that he's gone.
I know. Now it's time. Now finally. But
hope he doesn't watch this back.
John shut his fucking mouth. I can say what I want to say, but. So the TikTok ban, and it's too bad John's not here because I'd like to get his opinion on this. So, Biden signed the law that saying that the TikTok ban law or whatever. Let's see. Wednesday. Okay, Biden signed on Wednesday a law that would ban TikTok unless it was sold within a year. In the most serious threat yet to the video streaming app's future, the United States intensifying America's war with China. Still, the law is not expected to cause any immediate disruption to TikTok. Its forthcoming legal challenges. Yeah, so it's going to like earliest that they would be forced to, I think I remember reading, would be January of next year or April of next year, something like that.
9 months.
But yeah, so like I'm curious to know, what do you guys think of this? And do you think TikTok will be banned? I'll start with you, Jeremy, since you're right next to me on my screen.
Yeah. I think it's bad. Before we even get to like the legal effects, politically speaking, for Joe Biden, it's obviously bad. He just got on the app. A lot of Democrats, like Jeff Jackson, for example, use the app to reach out to their community and reach people beyond just their constituents in their district. It's an app, unlike Facebook and Instagram Reels, honestly, has offered a lot of left-leaning people a platform, and is certainly going to stifle Democratic efforts to at least get out the vote in November, right? It's generally a bad thing for Biden to do. And it's a bad look because people like the TikTok app. There's like 150 million Americans that are on it. Legally speaking, I don't know if it's going to fully go through. I know TikTok, or ByteDance itself, is challenging the law on, I don't know exactly what the legal grounds are, but they are challenging it in the court. So we'll see if anything goes if anything happens there. I think they also are exploring selling TikTok without the algorithm packaged in the sale, meaning they would just sell the IP itself, sell the TikTok brand, but the algorithm they would keep and probably use for a different social media platform, or just keep it to themselves, which would mean TikTok would probably just get worse if like Meta owns it or something like that.
Oh God, could you imagine? I know.
I don't know what's going to happen. This passed as a part of like a broader national security bill, which I think is just laughable, but who knows? I don't think it's anything good for Joe Biden. I don't think this can mean anything good for him. It's not going to help.
Oh, it's not good electorally. I just the amount of people that I've seen get on and be like, "You'd really do this right now?" And it's like, yeah. What the fuck are we doing, dude? And I can't speak to the legality of the ban itself. I think people have called it extortion. Like I would like to think that it's not legal to tell somebody, "Oh, you have to sell." It's either ban or sell. If it was just an outright ban, I think, yeah, it's going through and it's sticking. Maybe there's an argument in the courts. I have no faith in the courts. I'm just going to put that out there. I haven't since, a little before Roe v. Wade was overturned. But I at this point in time, I do think that the ban goes through. Interesting you say that they'd sell the app, not the algorithm. I'd much rather they give the algorithm to, like, I don't know, Instagram Reels, and I just swallow my pride. And start scrolling, but, man, it's not here for small businesses.
Yeah. 3 guys talking about TikTok. We have no personal stake in TikTok whatsoever.
3 guys who got their following on TikTok.
Completely objective commentary. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. We don't know the first damn thing about this TikTok.
Exactly,
I don't know.
yeah.
It wouldn't affect us at all. You know, if I show up in a Burger King shirt tomorrow, you'll know what happened and everything. But so the legal defense for it, you guys mentioned, like, you don't know what the legal defense would be. I mean, it's just like, Your Honor, this is fucking bullshit would be my legal defense, because it obviously is. Like, right? It's extortion is a great word for it. It's exactly what's going on. Now, I agree 100% with like Joe Biden mystifies me in a lot of ways, because I can't, like, he's not a stupid guy. He's not dumb. And he's also, he knows how politics work. I mean, despite all the shit we give him or whatever, he has made it in politics for like 60 years now. It's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. So I, for the life of me, don't understand like what his incentive is to do this during an election year. Like, even if you were dead set on, yeah, I think this TikTok is an actual national security threat, yada, 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 knowing that a huge percentage of your base, hell, just Americans in general, really like this app, why would you be the guy in charge? Like you saw we shit on, congressmen and senators who are against it or who want to ban TikTok or whatever, but you're the top dude. They're gonna direct that anger towards you. There's no way it helps you. Like, who's the voter that's making their decision in November that's like, yes, I'm so glad Joe Biden signed that TikTok ban. Now I'm definitely voting for him. Like, that's the thing with Biden, is that I'm annoyed when he doesn't have the fucking common decency to lie. Just fucking lie. Just like, you don't have to mean any of this shit, but just the virtual signal on it is pretty impressive. I mean, pretty important. And I agree with Gage here talking about how even if this does go through, that they might, actually, maybe Jeremy said that they might just sell it instead. And because China says they're not going to. I checked before the show, and like Reuters put out something like 2 hours before the show started that China says, no, we ain't selling shit. It's not good, but that could be just bluster and everything. But the reason I think that they will is because they did run across this before with Grindr, which is a Chinese app. Yeah, Grindr's a Chinese app. Yeah,
it's a Chinese app.
It was a Chinese app, and
can't get rid of that one. Too many congressional Republicans rely.
Too many. They had too much. Hold on, let me see. I was gonna find it. I'm pretty sure it was 2004 when this happened.
Damn, the Chinese are turning the American public gay.
They did, yeah. It's a national security issue that we have. The populace is getting too fabulous. And let me see. Hold on, I'll see if I can pull it up here.
Wow, what a fucking piece of trivia.
So I don't know if you guys can read that. But all right, so yeah, Grindr has been sold. This was March of 2020. Grindr has been sold by its Chinese owner after the U.S. expressed security concerns. Grindr has been sold by its Chinese owners. The sale comes after U.S. government committee expressed national security concerns about Beijing's ownership of the app last year. They sold it for $608 million. They originally bought Grindr in 2018, but the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States reportedly informed that its ownership of Grindr was a national security risk. All right. Who believes that? Who fucking believes that? And so, my guess is that since China did this with Grindr, and that's just one that I know of, I'm sure it's happened other times too, but that this is not their first time seeing this movie where they get something that's successful in the United States. But this happened in India, like TikTok. India did ban TikTok, and it had a lot of users there too. And China's like, no, we're not going to sell it. But the United States has a lot more money than India, so I don't know. It's just interesting to see where it goes. But I'm not sure. What do you guys think about?
Was the U.S. having like necessarily more money or like a higher market? I'm not sure that I know we have 170 million users here.
Something like that.
I'm not sure about those numbers in India, but I know there are quite literally billions.
A lot more people
worldwide. And with that, that's what makes me think there cannot be enough market share here in the United States for them to justify selling the app to us, or even selling a US version of the app to us, because then that gets rid of the algorithm. It's out of their hands. It's clearly what they want. Unless TikTok Shop is fucking popping off here, which I can't see happening. I don't know if there's an economic argument for them to get rid of it.
I mean, the only reason I could think Joe Biden would do it, I guess 2 reasons. The first one is the national security concerns, which is that China, the CCP, could get American data and influence what we see on our For You page or whatever. But that to me is strange because
free Meta already sells it to them.
Right. That's my point. Is like China can just buy our data from other places and then use that data to do whatever they want to do. And then I guess the other reason he could be signing on to the bill to sell it is an economic reason for the United States, because if TikTok is sold to the US, presumably owned by a US CEO, billionaire company, whatever, then that makes money for US businesses. But even that seems like a strange reason to sign the bill if that's all that it is, especially because this idea was first fronted by Donald Trump. So I have no idea why Biden wants to sign on to this so bad. It's an app that would be good for mobilization on his side of the aisle. It just doesn't make sense.
I think maybe it comes down to sort of like a big tech lobby thing. Big tech in America does not like that TikTok is like, I don't know, the #1 social media app. It's what everyone cares about. Like I said, I'd rather die than scroll on Instagram Reels for hours. Like, and
that's
don't even get me started on Facebook Reels. You'll never catch me on there. Like,
YouTube Shorts.
YouTube Shorts. Every YouTube Shorts comment section is hell.
Yeah. Including ours.
Yeah, YouTube comments in general are hell. I don't know why that is. I can't quite figure this out, but I figured out when I joined the show, and then I started my own channel. Power's taken, not given on YouTube, guys. Follow it. Oh, actually, you're probably watching it now. But anyway, yeah, it's YouTube channels are like comments are like 90% right wing. I don't even read them anymore. It's like why do I like, how is this possible? How are there this many right wingers out there?
I saw you, the Left Wing Pod had a couple of videos that got like 2,000, 3,000 views recently, and I was just checking those out. The comments are ridiculous.
I haven't read them. I sure don't read them. I don't know what they said, but I know. It's awful, man. It is just terrible. But that doesn't make sense, right? I mean, all right,
it's called the Left Wing Pod. Like, what are we doing?
It's called the Left Wing Pod. This is all right. So we're going off. Like, I love going into. I love talking inside baseball with content creators and shit, because you don't get to do this shit in real life. But I started another podcast with some people who went to the same like crazy Christian school that I went to as a kid, and we were having a discussion on there, and it's like, well, we don't want to scare away, too many people to our right. We're trying to get the audience up. Like, listen, I've been doing this content creation thing for a couple of years now, and I'll tell you something about right wingers. They love to hate watch. They love it, and I don't get it. I can't imagine like pulling up my phone and then just scrolling through and watching like a dozen like Daily Wire videos. Like, why would I do that to myself? But they live for this shit. Like, they really do.
YouTube Shorts of all places. Of all places. What are we doing?
I don't get it. I don't understand it at all.
There'll be times when I will like watch a Ben Shapiro or a Michael Knowles video or something, but I do that specifically because I do this shit.
Exactly.
I want to be able to talk about what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And I also do it to like, it's like watching film, how like football players or basketball players will watch film. Like, I'm studying their arguments so I can know what I need to understand if I ever hear similar talking points. But I would not do that if I wasn't doing this. There's no reason for me to do that otherwise. Like, I'm a special case, but Republicans love that shit.
Well, and I was gonna ask, could you imagine I'll see random videos and stuff like the thing I just saw, like with that interview with the Zionists or something, or I'll see a political official, or I'll see like Ben Shapiro make a clip or something. I sure as hell am not searching through C-list right-wing stuff, like regular ass, and then leaving like a stream of comments. Is like, why are you doing this? Like, what? Like, who hurt you as a kid? I don't. It's right wingers gotta watch for the daily dose of rage. Look,
absolutely.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Like, you're not wrong at all. They love being upset about something.
Wild.
Yeah, that is crazy shit. I don't understand. But
like, bringing it back to TikTok, dude, TikTok is the only platform we post on where we reliably have comments that are not explicitly right wing. Instagram is a little bit better than YouTube Shorts. Instagram, I guess we've started to hit the algorithm a little bit more, kind of, with our own audience. Comments have been a bit nicer. But I want to say for like a solid 2 years, anytime an Instagram reel got like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 views, it's a billion people. Get a fucking job. Why are you wearing socks? If this is your work, dress like it's work. What are you doing? And it's like, brother.
It's like, hey, for the life of me, I don't understand it. I don't get it at all. This is why, like, so what sucks about TikTok is, so I figured this out too early on, that, you know, like, for some reason, a lot of your comments are just gonna be a bunch of right wingers, you know, calling me a thick-lipped monkey or whatever, or some shit and everything. And I'm like, okay, look, I'd rather not read this shit. TikTok doesn't really give you the choice. Like, when you open it up, boom, there are some comments. And so I try my best to, like, but every once in a while, because I feel stupid, like, getting into traps, arguing with people in the comments. And Facebook, when you said this, Jerry, about like how they could sell the app but not the algorithm, I hadn't heard that. But God, I mean, if everything was Facebook and Instagram, like, TikTok is just better. It's just better. I can't tell you how it's better, but it seems pretty simple. But the way the entire app is structured and how the algorithm works, infinitely better than anything I see. I mean, YouTube's pretty good. Honestly, YouTube's pretty good. I'm not too upset with my like YouTube feed or whatever. But man, if it went to Zuckerberg and everything, who did you see the video, the picture of Zuckerberg in a beard? As a side note, there, you guys see that?
Yeah,
dude. It's
the
like,
blow up is crazy.
There's like this weird inverse relationship between Zuckerberg and Musk, and how every day Musk looks worse and worse and worse, and Zuckerberg looks better and better and better. It's like he's sucking the life out of him or something.
Well,
like, it's pretty fun to see.
Off watching that guy fail. So do I.
Oh God! Like, oh man! Like,
yeah, his life force is increasing. Yeah.
Yes. It's like if you ever read Bram Stoker's Dracula, it's really funny looking at it from like a modern lens, because like they're introducing you to the lore of the modern vampire story or whatever, and the guy's like, yeah, I showed up here and Dracula, it's weird that his eyes are red. That's kind of odd. Don't meet people with red eyes too often. And I woke up in the morning and I had two like bite marks on my neck, which is strange. And Dracula was like really sick and frail when I met him, but every day he gets stronger and stronger, and I'm getting weaker. I was like, okay, then what's going on? But that's exactly what's happening with Musk and everything. That he's just like, he's literally draining the life force away from from Zuckerberg, and it's pretty fun to see. I don't know. Anyway. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. We'll cut out the show here. We kind of went off the rails there, but it's fun. It's fun shit. We already did the plug and everything. We appreciate you coming on. Anything you want to add? Anything to end the show with?
Well, since TikTok's being banned, we're also heading the office on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Hit us up there in 9 months when you can't watch us on TikTok no more.
I do want to say, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was just agreeing. Yeah.
I want to say a couple things about you guys. The show is fantastic. I first ran across you guys on TikTok. Amazing content. I've always loved it. I was very excited to find out that you guys followed me back then and have here. And I've caught on to a few, because I watched some of you guys' shows, like your long form shows you put on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And I've caught on to a few like running gags you guys do, like it's the Hito Boys. Containment. the Hito Boys. It took me a while. You guys because I thought you meant like hedonists. That's how much of a fucking nerd I am. I was like, oh, they mean hedonists? It's like, oh no, it's like okay, Hito, I get it. And then I remember the first time I saw you guys do like a break in the show or something, you're like, man, no 5-star reviews. I can't believe we don't have any 5-star reviews. And so I went over, I was like, wait, but they have a ton of them. What are they talking about? And then I saw another show. Man, can you believe it? I was like, God, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's great. So I love a good running gag, and you guys are great at it. And say what?
I just appreciate that, man.
Oh, no problem at all. But yeah, I can't recommend them enough. If you guys trust my judgment, and you should go check out their show. So appreciate it, guys. We'll catch you later. Have a good day.
Thanks, man.
And shout out to all the Hito heads that pulled up.